Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Shujodeshe pratishtapya Sthiramasanaatmanaha Natyuchritang Natinichang Chailajina Kushotaram Tatraigagram Nanah Kritva Yatachitendriya Kriyaha Upavishyasane Yunjyad Yogam Atma Vishuddhaye. Preud. I'm speaking on this verse and not the verse which is written up because I spoke on this verse yesterday. So whoever's writing out the verses, please take note. Write up tomorrow text 13 and not the verse we're doing today. Now this is a description of the Dhyana Yoga system. It is a very difficult system. The yogis, they go away from society and live in caves, either in the mountains or the forests, and performing austerities. Why do they do that? Because they are so much convinced that material life is worthless. They take upon themselves many difficulties. It's not easy to be a yogi. So many rules and regulations you have to follow. Very severe austerities. So why should they do that when there are so many things to be enjoyed in life? Because they are convinced that material life is useless. Now we may say, well, that was in the old days. But in modern life we have so many more things to do. There are so many different kinds of enjoyments. When Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, there was no Rolling Stones concerts. So maybe you wouldn't become a yogi if you could go to a Rolling Stones concert. There was no TV, no internet, no football. So maybe life wasn't worth living. Maybe it was better to be a yogi. But now in the modern age we have so many wonderful things to do. No, that's not a fact. The sum total of all these wonderful things to do is zero. At best. Actually it's minus. Just like we're saying Rolling Stones means they're stoned and they're rolling into hell. They're not happy. Do you think they're happy? You think these people, because they have money, fame, because people scream at them in some kind of demoniac appreciation, you think they're happy? Do you think you would be happy if you had as much money as Mick Jagger? He's not satisfied. Otherwise, why is he at the age of 55 or whatever, running around the world trying to make more money? He has so much money, but he's not satisfied. And so many times he's screamed and yelled into a microphone, and he's still doing it. And what is the ultimate result of doing that? What is the ultimate result of doing anything in this material world? Simply repeated birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam. This is the whole story of material life. You take all the history books, all the stories of wars and political upheavals, revolutions, social influence. It's all summed up in these two lines. Punarapi jananam. Again you get born. Punarapi maranam. And again you die. Punarapi janani jathare shayanam. And after dying, and again you have to lie in the womb of a mother to suffer. So yogi means someone who's more intelligent. He doesn't take part in the sources of misery. Sense enjoyment is only enjoyment in name. It is actually the cause of all suffering. Yehi sangsparshaja bhoga dukkha yoniya evate. Lord Krishna analyzes in this Bhagavad Gita. What is the nature of sense enjoyment? It is simply the senses coming into contact with their objects. We like to see something very nice. We like to hear something attractive. We like to touch. That especially sex attraction means the sense of touch is engaged. But these are all simply causes of suffering. Adyantavanta kontaya nateshu ramate buddha. From the very beginning to the end, they're simply causes of suffering. Therefore, an intelligent person does not take part in them. So, to become a yogi means to become intelligent. To understand that material sense enjoyment simply leads to repeated suffering. People in Serbia may be thinking, yes, we are suffering, but if I could get a job in Germany or go to America, then I could really enjoy life. But do you think people in America and Germany are enjoying life? You think everyone's walking around with a big smile on their face, dancing in the streets? You think everyone in America is having waves of ecstasy flowing over their hearts? They are simply suffering also. They're suffering now and they will continue to suffer in future. Even if you're born in a very great nation like America, still you have to die and then you have to get born as a cat or a dog somewhere else. So even at the time when Krishna was speaking this Bhagavad Gita, people were convinced that material life is miserable. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this material world is no better than a place into which people go and pass stool. Here in these cities we have very sophisticated flush toilets. You pull and the water flushes. But maybe you know in the villages they have less sophisticated toilets, where you simply pass stool and it stays there. And it mixes with the urine, rots and stinks. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said the whole material world is just like that. There is a certain class of fly which very much enjoys this. When someone is passing stool, they think, how wonderful. Let us go and lay our eggs there. So many maggots are born, so many worms are born in that stool. And they are enjoying it and thinking, this is very nice. So everyone in the material world is like a maggot in stool, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are thinking it's very enjoyable. But actually it's not enjoyable. We are not meant for trying to enjoy this material world. We are not meant for trying to enjoy this. To be born again, suffer again, struggle again, die again. We are meant for a life of Satchit Ananda, eternity, bliss and knowledge. For this purpose, the yogis, they leave the world and perform severe austerities to become detached from the enjoying spirit, which is the cause of entanglement in material life. Now in the modern age, it's not possible to perform such austerities. There are yoga groups in the modern age, but they are all simply cheating. They say they are teaching yoga, they teach you some exercises. But these exercises do not in themselves constitute yoga. Yoga means, yoga indriya samyamya. Yoga is meant for controlling the senses. It is not possible to perform a few exercises and breathing exercises and some pseudo-meditation for a few minutes in the morning and call yourself a yogi. There is no question of controlling the mind and senses in such a way. Nor do the so-called teachers of yoga teach that this is what yoga is meant for. They usually teach that yoga is meant for some kind of material improvement. You can improve your health so that you can stay young longer and enjoy sense gratification longer. I remember many years ago in the library seeing a book called Yoga for Sex. How by performing yoga you can improve your sex life. Or they say that by doing yoga you can be free from anxieties and you can sleep better at night. You can improve your business performance. This is not what yoga is meant for. In fact, a yogi is supposed to give up sex life, not indulge in it more. So this so-called yoga, it's all cheating, that's all. Typical of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga means the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So in this age, it's not possible to execute that severe system of yoga. To perform that system properly, one should have to live a very long life. In the Satya Yuga, when this system of meditation was possible to perform, people used to live up to 100,000 years. And they would meditate for maybe at least 10,000 years, or maybe 60,000 years. Now we hear people say, I meditate for 10 minutes every morning. It's a farce. So the real goal of yoga is ultimately to understand Krishna. This dhyana yoga system means the yoga of meditation. Dhyan is a Sanskrit word which means meditation. In Japanese language, that comes out as Zen. Therefore we have Zen Buddhism. But the original word is dhyan, which means meditation. So what is that meditation on? According to the scriptures which describe the original authentic system of yoga, meditation is supposed to be upon Vishnu or Krishna. Dhyana vastita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yogino Srimad Bhagavatam describes that the object of meditation for the yogis is Lord Vishnu. So in the modern age, the same result of performing those severe austerities in meditation can be had by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. The ultimate goal is to become Krishna conscious. It is not possible to do that in the modern age by the yoga system, and in fact by that meditative yoga system. And there is a much easier, better, simple, more practical method, which is by chanting the names of Krishna. So maybe many of you are thinking, well, we know this already, but there's no harm to remind ourselves how fortunate we are to have this opportunity. That we are born in Kali Yuga because it must be due to some sinful background. Kali Yuga is an age which is permeated in which the atmosphere is permeated with vice. Sinful activities which cause people to go to hell are just considered normal everyday behavior. Eating meat, taking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, having illicit sex, abortions, contraception. All these things are very sinful. People think it's just normal. And they even make laws to encourage these things. It's a very, very sinful age. We are born in this age because we have sinful desires. So we're very, very fortunate that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to teach Krishna consciousness in the modern age by giving the Hare Krishna mantra. And we're very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada took the trouble to come to the Western world and teach that to us. And if we at all have any intelligence, we'll take that very seriously. See, the yogis, they took up such severe austerities to become free from sense enjoyment. They took up so many austerities to become free from desires for sense enjoyment. So in Krishna consciousness also, we have to become free from desires for sense enjoyment. We're not encouraged to perform severe austerities because we're not fit for that. We're encouraged to take up the positive process of chanting the holy names of Krishna. But at the same time, we have to be mindful to give up sinful activities. Unless we make a sincere endeavor to become free from the desire for material enjoyment, then we will always remain confused. To clear the consciousness, we have to concentrate on Krishna. That is called Krishna consciousness. But that also means giving up the endeavor for sense gratification. Now, that may not be possible for everybody all at once. So, we don't say that you have to become severely austere like a yogi. What are the different factors of sense gratification? Well, what are the senses? Seeing, touching, hearing, smelling, feeling, and tasting. So seeing, we like to see, what do we like to see? TV, maybe some beautiful cinema star. So we say, come and see Krishna, come and see the beautiful form of Krishna, beautifully decorated in the temple. You can also decorate your home with beautiful pictures of Krishna. Hearing, we like to hear different kinds of music, although modern art, whether it's fine art or music or whatever, it's extremely gross. Modern art means you get a whole bunch of garbage and weld it together and sell it for $10,000. Or some insane person like Vikasa puts all kinds of insane things on some piece of paper and it becomes worth $2 million. We're offering something, this is something very beautiful. You see the picture of Krishna. Or music, you see so many people, 70,000 people coming to get their earballs completely smashed by the sound of the Rolling Stones. But this kind of music is actually very demoniac. It degrades the consciousness. Art, music, these things they should be used to elevate our consciousness. We see traditionally, even in the Western countries, all the art was used for glorification of God. All over Europe, especially in Italy, you'll find beautiful churches, beautiful art, all dedicated to God. So the idea is that all man's higher tendencies should be channeled into service to God. God is the most beautiful. So the tendency to make something beautiful that is coming from God, that should be offered back to Him. So instead of this horrible bang, bang, bang music, Why not make some beautiful music in glorification of Krishna? See, in modern life there's already so many horrible sounds. People keep so many dogs who are barking all the time. We have experience of this here. There's always some construction going on, so you're always hearing the noise of the street being drilled. Brrr. Some airplane is flying overhead. And we're so much accustomed to these horrible sounds that we think that music is also some kind of, if we have some horrible sound, that's also music. It sounds like some pneumatic drill. So in Krishna consciousness we also have music, but that is very nice for the glorification of Krishna. Shankha baje, ghanta baje, madhur, madhur, madhur baje. You see, this is the Shankha baje means the conch is sounded. Ghanta baje, the sweet sound of the bell. Madhur, madhur, madhur baje. Madhur means very sweetly they're sounding. Sugita nartane, shabashaki gani, tu se che shobhavani. This is a song describing the gopis in Vrindavan. They sing very sweetly, they dance very nicely, and in this way they decorate the already beautiful forest of Vrindavan. So in this way, it's better to engage all the senses in the service of Krishna and purify them. Seeing, hearing, tasting. The yogis, they simply eat some dry leaves. Devotees, they take nice prasadam offered to Krishna. We don't say just eat some dry leaves. Eat nice food. Pakoras, puris, halava, so many things. In the Western countries, no one had heard of these things. So now these things have been introduced in the service of Krishna. So, sense of touch, you can massage the body of Krishna, those who are doing deity worship. Embrace the Vaishnavas whose bodies are so purified by service to Krishna. You can smell the nice flowers offered to Krishna. In this way, all the senses can be purified in the service of Krishna. Over and all, the most important of all yoga practices in the modern age is chanting the holy names of Krishna. But along with this, we should be convinced that this material life, it is not beneficial for us. There is no gain in trying to enjoy this material world. It is not in our best interest. Especially in the modern age, the so-called enjoyment is so gross, totally unaesthetic, that in the modern age, either we take to Krishna consciousness very seriously, or we're dragged down into a vortex of degradation. So much so that even the most respected people of the modern world, we see they're simply degraded. Now the big news all over the world is Mr. Clinton and his unexpected liaison with a young lady of his daughter's age. So such a person, he is supposed to be respectable, a very respectable position, President of the United States, cannot control his senses. Modern age is so much degraded. So at least the devotees should strive to live at least like human beings by following the rules and regulations of spiritual life. And over and above that, become advanced in Krishna consciousness by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna. I'll finish there. If anyone has any questions or comments they would like to make, comment. Question. You should do it in short bits, otherwise you're not going to be able to translate it all. Yeah, that salvation is here. It's called the Hare Krishna movement. This movement eschews illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating and gambling, and teaches people to strive for the highest goal of life, namely love of Krishna. So in the darkness of the modern age, this is a ray of light. This is actually a very wonderful thing. That we see so many young people all over the world are taking to Krishna consciousness. Generally we think that, young people, old people, whatever, but especially young people, we expect that this is the age for enjoyment, more. It's expected that young people will more indulge in sense gratification because this is when they have the opportunity. Their bodies are fit and healthy. That's why sometimes parents of our devotees, they become very upset. Why are you joining this Hare Krishna movement? This is the time when you should be enjoying yourself. Don't spoil your youth. You'll regret it later, so they tell us. But actually we find that even many young people who according to all the propaganda are supposed to be enjoying are actually very frustrated. Because this life of gross sense enjoyment, it doesn't bring happiness, it only brings frustration. And although in the advertisements, just like Coca-Cola advertisements, you see everyone jumping and smiling and they're supposed to be happy, the actual fact is that so many young people have psychological problems, depression, paranoia, suicidal tendencies, alcoholism, or taking drugs, because they're not satisfied. So many like to join our Krishna consciousness movement because it's a positive alternative. So please help to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. It's very much required to help people at the present time. People are suffering very, very much in this consumer society. So let us try to do something to help them by giving them knowledge of Krishna. Say it back in Serbia. I've seen in 20 years the degradation of India. It was going down like this. Then they introduced the satellite TV, and then it started going down like this. And that's all over the world. Actually, we find here in Eastern Europe, people are relatively simple and unspoiled because they have not been exposed to gross sense enjoyment. You must be seeing yourselves that in the years since these countries have opened up more to the West, how more the degradation is coming. Actually, about 1 year ago, an article appeared in Time magazine. Do you know this Time magazine? It's a great magazine of American corporate propaganda. So they had an article showing how America is the #1 country in the world, leading the world in economically, militarily, and culturally. Culture means the pop culture. So in that article, they showed, to show American hegemony in culture, they showed the McDonald's arch in Beijing and an advertisement for Coca-Cola in a village in rural Pakistan. So someone showed me this article. It made me angry. So I wrote them a letter and they published it. It was only 4 lines. I'll try and remember exactly what it said. They edited it actually. They kind of cooled it down a bit. It was still pretty heavy. So it said that McDonald's and Coca-Cola symbolize a way of life based on gross materialism. That America is foisting this anti-culture on the world is nothing to be proud of. You know what foisting means? It means just like forcibly pushing it onto you.
Can you repeat it?
That America is foisting this anti-culture on the world is nothing to be proud of. Religious, social, and family values are destroyed by the relentless steamroller of Western culture.
Sorry?
Religious, social, and family values are being destroyed by the relentless steamroller. Steamroller is this big thing which crushes the road, flattens everything out. By the relentless steamroller of Western culture. America, take another look at yourself, lest you go down in history. Unless you go down in, otherwise you will go down in history as the most exploitive and intellectually decrepit civilization ever. Exploitive?
Which exploits are they?
Yeah. exploitive and intellectually decrepit civilization in history. Anyway, they published it. So. But they didn't put ISKCON. I put Bhakti Vikasa Swami, ISKCON, Baroda, India. But they left out the word ISKCON. So these demoniac forces are actually spoiling the world. Otherwise, in India, even in the West, people were mostly quite simple, not very bad people. But the modern way of life is forcibly making people into demons. So it's the same thing. The Hare Krishna movement is the only hope for the world. Whatever cultures, there's still some culture in India. As Prabhupada said, there's a Bengali saying that even a dead elephant is worth a lot of money. Even when it's dead. When it's alive, it's worth a lot of money. Even when it's dead, it's worth a lot of money. So, because there's the elephant's skin and the tusk. So in the same way, India is practically spiritually dead, almost. But still, whatever is there is more than anything else in the rest of the world, because there's no spiritual culture in the rest of the world. Actually, there's tremendous scope for preaching Krishna consciousness in India. Our movement is very well respected there. I mean, we can go anywhere we go, people will buy our books. If we spend a little time with people, they'll start chanting, and there's tremendous scope. If you want to find out more about it, go there and find out for yourself. But that means more than just sitting or going to Vrindavan and sitting on the lassi bar. You have to go out, preach, village to village, to meet the people. And you can see what is Indian culture. I just wrote one book about Indian culture, just published, but I could only bring a few copies with me. So I gave one to Nimai Pandit. If anyone wants to see, they can see that. And I hope next time I come, if Krishna allows me to come, I can bring some more copies. I have another book about Indian spiritual life also, which I wrote for distribution to young people in India, telling them not to be so foolish as to give up their wonderful culture and simply imitate like monkeys the West. Monkey-like imitation. So on the subject of the books I've written, I'd like to show them. On the subject of books that I've written, I'd like to show them. Just like they've promoted Coca-Cola and McDonald's all over the world by advertising. So I'm also going to do some advertising. Of course, I'm not going to give you something useless like McDonald's hamburgers. So I have, namely, chanting Hare Krishna and dancing. And then there'll be another part of the yoga of the modern age, probably the most popular part, which, as you all know, is taking prasadam up to your ears. There's one other book. Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna.
Everyone went to sleep? What happened? What happened? They all went to sleep? Ask them. Please say, no, not no, say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Half awake. See, I have a microphone. I have an advantage. You should shout louder. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Jai Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So even if my lecture was completely useless, at least there was something good. We all chanted Hare Krishna. You can translate that. Hare Krishna. Okay, that's all.